Well, peace and blessings, blessings and peace. It's the boy Jarmel Reese, and I want to share my experiences with you. If I had to put my life in one word, I would have to say ridiculous, man. From growing up in one of the worst neighborhoods in St. Louis, Missouri, launching a successful music career, recording with some of the top names in the industry, and launching my own clothing line, traveling the world, discovering the power behind yoga and meditation, and how it can heal the mind as well as the body. So tune in to my show, Just a Thought. Follow the story, like the page, subscribe. Let's write the rest of the story that you've always dreamed of. Peace and blessings, blessings and peace. It's the boy Jarmel Reese. See you soon. All right. Peace and blessings, y'all. Blessings.
Helen Hansel was able to win
It's
any
the boy
competition
Jarmel
she took
Reese,
part
man,
in.
and welcome back to another week of Just a Thought. Well, this isn't Just a Thought. This is another week of our community podcast where we get together with different peoples in the community and what we're building, and we just talk about different subjects. So thank you guys for being able to join us. And always we go around the room and we let everybody introduce themselves. Hope y'all doing good today. Go ahead and start over here. Bow. Go ahead, my Jesna. You ready?
Yeah, just get my lightning together. But I'm my Jasmine Foster. I am a personal coach, so I help people with their relationships and having a sex talk with their children, as well as a website and funnel specialist alongside you with Pop Roller Media.
Absolutely. Genesis, you got it next.
Grand Rising to all, Dr. Genesis Omega PhD, owner, part owner of LaShore Network, recording artist, writer, producer, executive producer, celebrity hairstylist, all that good stuff. And I'm going to need that therapist. I'm going to need your information. I want to refer someone to you.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Absolutely. That's what we hear. Making connections and delivering results. And right now that leads right into my next person that we get ready to introduce. Go ahead, Sonny.
Hey y'all, what's up? It's your girl Sonia Miller, as I'm always formerly known as Sunny. I am the CEO of Esmos Media, as Jarmel said, making connections, delivering results. I am a PR media specialist where I specialize in red carpet interviews for your businesses. I also do bookings for podcasts as well. So if you would like to get booked for Just a Thought podcast or any other podcast out there, just make sure you hit me up. And then also I am a master astrologist and tarot card reader as well. And if you would like to get a reading, hit me up. And I can be reached at Esmos Media on all social media platforms.
Absolutely. Yes, you can. We lost Genesis, but I'm pretty sure she'll be back, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, as we go, we're going to go on with the flow, you know what I mean? And today we are going to talk about silence, right? And one of the main thing about silence is it's probably, let me get her back in here. Wow. Genesis, you back. So like we was getting ready to say, as we started with our subject today is about silence and how powerful silence is. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's like one thing I learned is that through life, man, we always feel like we gotta have the last word, right? It's like one of those things where we feel like if somebody says something to us that they're taking some kind of power away from us, or they're doing something to us, so we feel like we gotta say something back. And in reality, you're just leaving more ammunition to leave yourself open to be hurt even more with the words that you say in emotion and making emotional decisions based off of what a person may feel about you at that particular moment, or what you feel about something in that particular moment. You know what I mean? And silence is the best thing that we could possibly be able to use because it allows us to be able to think. And I think sometimes being able to take that extra pause and being able to stop and say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to participate in this right now because I don't even really have the words, but to just listen to what somebody else has to say can be able to actually bring in more power than you actually think it can. You know what I'm saying? And so we're going to talk about silence. And first, before we even get started, you know, we always do a video, but I want to ask you guys before we even go off into a video, like, what's some of you guys' experience with silence, and then also like some of the techniques that you would probably use to be able to not let people take the energy from you with your side with what they display and you displaying silence. Anybody?
Well, I know for me, to me, I just like, I'm really to myself. So whether I'm taking a walk or I'm at the park, I just always feel like, every action doesn't need a reaction. So I always try to stay calm and I always try to stay quiet, even in different situations or whatever. I don't speak. I just let the universe move and I let the most high move. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And you know what's crazy about it is that some people view your silence as a weakness. Hey Tiffany, how you doing?
This is Empress. I'm good.
Empress, how you doing today? My apologies. My
That's
apologies.
okay. It's a
My
learning curve. It's a learning curve. It's all right.
Absolutely, absolutely. We always see, look at that. We learning all the time. Matter of fact, while we on, so I'm glad you're here today. Matter of fact, you can introduce yourself. And today we are talking about silence. So I wanted you to be able to be aware of what we were talking about. And you can introduce yourself as well.
Hello, everyone. I'm Empress Elliott. I'm sorry. I'm Empress Stephanie calling from Florida. And I was about to get my whole professional spiel there. Anyway, I'm calling out of Florida and I'm loving this topic of silence because that's been a theme for me as of late. I really, and I'll get into it more as we get into the discussion.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so we're actually then that's what we're gonna do. We'll get off into our first video and allow everybody to kind of warm up and get into their silence, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about what we're going through right now in this particular moment in these seasons, and then also just anything that we want to be able to just help each other move forward with. So no longer ado, I'm going to play the first video that we're going to bring here. Let me share my screen. Like I said, if you guys know, I kind of had some technical difficulties going on today, so it's kind of crazy. But we are going to push through as always, right? So let's get it.
For silence. It seems most times the problem we have with ourselves as humans is the problem of saying what is not yet ready to be put forth. We all seem to have this problem, and most times there are countless reasons why we do this, to make people know that we are somebody who also has his own worth. We try to make ourselves look big, try to talk others down, and sometimes gain some respect aggressively, some godlike reverence to ourselves. We're ready to say everything that can be said to have a stand on a position that is of worth and make people see us as important too. And in the process, we say more than we actually should. Have you ever thought of the importance of silence? Have you ever thought of the reason why you have been given two lips and a brain to think? The main reason is for you to know by reasoning the right time to talk and the right time not to. To be able to envisage when our words are needed to be heard and when we are to be silent, even when the situation and circumstances around us seemingly want us to speak out. Yes, life can be a bit complicated and demanding. It can throw you off balance and give you no reason to be logical. However, since you have no control over many situations, you do have control over your own life. Look at yourself more than you look and meditate on others. Saying too much is providing an arsenal for you to get hurt with your words. Being mysterious, on the other hand, makes people go the extra mile to be your friend. You don't want to give them any ammunition to attack. Be still in your conversations and thoughts and keep the people around you guessing. Keep them wondering and looking over their shoulder for you. They will yell at you. You do nothing. You say nothing. They will come calling on you when you do not want. Stay calm. Say nothing. You aren't doing them a favor. You're doing yourself a favor. Hearing nothing from you will give them much to think about when they want to approach you. You become that guy or that girl that makes them feel unsure of themselves. Your silence disrupts their confidence. It breaks their flow of thought regarding you. They just don't know how to get to you anymore. You don't give them any means or a reason to. It's like a man who goes to a party with his friends and doesn't dance. No one is going to laugh at his dance moves. Why? Because he hasn't danced. They will keep coming up with ways to define you just because you never provided them any. Instead of you trying to give reasons as to why you're better and why they're wrong, why not just keep quiet and steadily work toward your dream, bearing in mind that you have a goal better than the circumstances around you? We've heard the popular expression, silence is the best response to a fool. The people around you do not necessarily need to be proven as fools, because the whole essence of going down your particular path is for your own sake. Why don't you keep them confused by your silence? Keep them entirely thinking about you while you stay focused on your goals. No.
All right. Let me get everybody in here, make sure everybody in here. All right, cool. So I want to ask you guys first question is like, how do you believe that silence can impact our daily lives?
I think it can impact our daily lives pretty good. And I say that because I'm a person who is up early because it is so quiet. So that's my time to focus on what it is I really need to do. I can get my prayer out, my meditation out, and just get my day started earlier before, like the rest of the world is up.
Hmm.
So it's like complete silence at 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning. And it just helps me get my day started before any noise kicks in at all.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I agree. Silence helps you focus more. I know when I'm, excuse me, I know when I'm working, um, I'm always working alone too most of the time. So it helps me focus more. It helps me get my work done more faster. And it just works.
Mhm. Mhm. Anybody want to share anything about like even what they're going through right now or whatever? Anybody else? Go ahead.
Well, I have two things about that. This whole thing about silence is kind of just, like I said, a recurring theme for me. Anyway, I'm Buddhist, and in the type of Buddhism that I practice, we actually chant, but so we're not silent, but at the same time, we do it like sometimes we have this saying, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, but like one in spirit, one in body, many in spirit. So anyway, we emphasize that it's very important to practice and chant alone by yourself because you have to do the work for yourself. But at the same time, as a collective, as a group, we come together and chant in unison for the same cause. And so while this may not be silence, it is in a specific sense of being alone within yourself, but sometimes also being in a collective, in a group, and still being alone and kind of silent to recognize that one voice. I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And my own personal thing with that was um, ironically, back in 2012, when I converted to Buddhism, 3 or 4 months later, a mass was found on the right side of my neck. And so they were going to have to do surgery to take it out. And the mass wrapped around my vocal cords. And then on top of that, they found out I had thyroid cancer.
Mm.
So with the and they say like the throat chakra, that's usually because you've been silenced and haven't been able to speak your voice. And so literally my voice was taken away from me from like 6 months. And I was like so angry. I was like, why did I become a Buddhist? And I was like going off. And one time the speech therapy lady was like, didn't you tell me you're a Buddhist? And I'm like, yeah. And she was like, what kind? And I was like so angry and mean to her. And I'm like, why? Why are you worried about it? And she was like, well, if you chant, chanting is like therapy for your voice. And I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. And I go back and I tell one of my mentors, this little, she's passed away now, this lady, Miss Loretta in New Orleans. I told her, and she was like, you're an educated fool. She was like, you got a gift and a source right here for you, and you're not even using it to your advantage. So she would like call me every morning to make sure I had started chanting, and she would ride 2 buses over to my house, chant with me, and then make me take her on her
Wow.
errands and then take her home.
Wow.
But, in that silence of not being able to talk, but then, having to rebuild my voice, it was just, it was, so I was like prepared for COVID before COVID ever came. And then one last thing about like the silence and being alone. I used to live in Korea, and I couldn't speak the language fluently. And so there would be a lot of times that I would be in group conversation because I worked with Koreans directly. So, and I would usually be the only American. In fact, I was like the only American in my town. Um, and so there was a lot of times of silence and just having to listen. But I learned so much by just observing body language and, reading lips and just understanding. And they got amazed. After a while, they stopped talking around me because they realized I could understand what they were talking about.
Ain't that something? It's crazy how actions we can really learn a lot and pay it when we're actually in silence. You learn more being silent. You know what I mean? Genesis, did you want to say anything?
Of course I did.
I know you. I know. I know. Go ahead.
The first thing I want to say is a lot of people don't know what words are, and words carry vibrations and frequencies, and a lot of them can curse people.
Hmm.
So if you're in a negative vibration and like an altercation or argument, a lot of times people will speak from their lower chakras, and they'll vibrate from a negative standpoint versus being quiet and
Hmm.
what's being said, filtering it out and getting to the root of the problem to get to a solution. When you go into isolation, which I go into often to communicate with the divine and the Most High, it gives you a different perspective on your purpose in life, what you're putting into the universe, and what you're speaking into the universe. And the silence, the young lady mentioned about waking up early and just being in quiet in a sovereign energy and sovereign space. You can hear the divine in your instructions when
Hmm.
you're silent and quiet. A lot of people don't realize the phones carry frequencies, text messages, all these things carry frequencies. And if you shut it all down, you can connect with source and actually hear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's crazy is that's the same. That's what my Jesna was talking about. Like even so, that's why I say too, like getting up early, when the silence is at its least. They always say 3 o'clock, 3:30 is the time of the Lord. You know what I mean? And so you spend a lot of time in silence around that time and in prayer because all the communication is most people are asleep or they are if they are they're at work. If they're working, they're probably doing something that's occupied. Their prayers aren't going up, and you could be able to connect more with the Most High. We got people on Facebook. We got Rose on Facebook. Let me see what we got here. My Jessica, can you read that for us off the top of that?
Yes, so this is from YouTube. So Rose Guest stated in regards to what she said, someone spoke, they are a third degree Reiki master and they are balanced by chakras first thing after putting protection and prayer around themselves and they stay in silence for the first hour of their day.
Hmm. Man, that's real key. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what? And that's a real thing. You know what? I used to do that And maybe I should get back to doing that stuff. Is like staying in silence for about the least first hour of the day, you know. And that's a real statement, Rose. I appreciate that because it reminds me of like I was able to when I would be in silence for the first hour of my day, it allowed me to actually know how I felt about my own particular day. Not picking my phone up, not trying to relate to the world, relating back to what I was watching last night. Because if even too, it goes back into what you watched the last 20 to 30 minutes of what you do the night before. Because most of the time, if you tune into something crazy, you wake up in the morning on the same mission all the time, coming back to the same thing that you were on the last 20 minutes before the last night. So if you sleep with meditation music or you pray or you do something within the last 30 minutes or something before you start to sleep, you can wake up a lot better and then be in silence and not have to worry about tuning back in to that old person or that old personality. Was you getting ready to say something, Sonny?
I just want to say shout out to Rose for tuning in. She was actually supposed to get on a live. I invited her, but she said she couldn't get in. So, but
All
I'm
right.
glad that she responded on there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's gonna take us to our next video. Auntie Lynn, thank you. I'm glad you're here today. I know you said you can't. She's actually in silence. Isn't that a good thing? So she's in silence right now. So this is good to you know what I'm saying. This is the best topic for her to be able to be here today, right? So today I'm gonna go ahead and get into our next video, right? And this guy here, I'm not going to do his whole story. He has a TED talk, and you should go check him out. He was silent for 17 years. And not only was he silent, he was not getting in any motor vehicles, or he didn't want to get in any motor vehicles or anything like that due to the environment. And he was walking around the earth all the time. So he wouldn't get in a motor vehicle, wouldn't get in a train, wouldn't get in an airplane. He walked across the world everywhere he wanted to go. You should go check his TED talk out. It's real interesting. I checked it out probably about 2-3 years ago, and I was brought back to him because I started thinking about silence. So I'm gonna play a little bit of his TED talk, and you guys can check him out.
Well, actually, walking, I think, is really what I did before I stopped talking, and and walking is this kind of activity that allows you to be here, allows you to be in a place where you are. I know that we're all here, but because of the modern day in technology, we sometimes project ourselves from where we are right now in this organic moment and space and time to some place that could be, because of the technology, oh, say hundreds or thousands of miles away from this moment in time. But the walking allowed me to be in that place and in order to find silence. Some neuroscientists recently studied walking, and they came up with the idea that walking can work on the brain so that we can calmly accept things that happen right in our environment and not overreact. It also allows us to grow brain cells. This is all incredible. Now, I'm not a neuroscientist, and I'm definitely not a monk, but walking really let me discover bamboo. And in discovering bamboo, I could paint it, I could sit with it, I could be with it. And over time, it allowed me to find the silence because it took root inside of me. Now, back in the first century, a Greek philosopher named Apollonius Tianus, he had went on a walk, a silent walk, for 5 years. And it was rumored that he could quell riots with just the nod of his head and a glance. That sounded like my mom. But after walking and not speaking for 17 years, I have to say I couldn't do that. Uh, but what does this mean to us? I mean, what is this all walking and about and not speaking? I believe that walking and consciously not speaking and listening, even on a crowded city street or a quiet country road, for a few minutes, for a few moments, can help us see and discover silence. And by silence, I don't mean the absence of words. I mean the space that makes the music. And in silence, we not only can discover ourselves, but each other. And perhaps that piece which we are all a part of.
All right, cool. Can y'all hear me? Bring y'all back in. You cut your back on. Y'all got your mics on and stuff. All right, so check it out. So let me ask y'all, how do you think that, particularly in this digital world, how does silence or how does it affect our relationship with silence? Anybody?
You said how the digital world affect
So
us.
let me say it again. Let me say it again. So how does technology, especially like with all this stuff, how does it really affect our relationship with silence?
Um, it does take a toll because it's consistently going. I know for me, a lot of times I have to take breaks from social media. It's too much going on and it takes me away from what I'm focused on. So I will deactivate my social media pages and just stay off unless it's like business stuff that I have to get on. But it started to become absolutely too much for me at one point. You have so many pages. You got TikTok, you got Twitter, you got Snap, you got Facebook, you got Instagram. It's like nothing is just it's going and going and going, which is now affecting like this generation. I
Mm-hmm.
have a son who has ADHD, and as long as he got a tablet, he's on YouTube, and it just go, where you have to put a stop to the time that he's on there. So I think being from our generation to now, it can be a lot, but if you know how to decompress from it, then you can have the balance if that's something you choose to do.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Yeah, I want to mention how, like, at one point you had latchkey kids and they were raised by television and radio. And it's like she mentioned with her son, it's just the evolution of what's actually going on now. A lot of parents aren't parenting and they're allowing social media and digital devices to raise their children. A lot of people don't know the side effects from the from the from the tablets and cell phones. It affects your melatonin. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
your melatonin is not processing thoroughly through your body. It will affect your sleep, and if it affects your sleep, it'll affect your mind, and if it affects your mind, it'll affect your thought processing. So it's a trickle down effect how it affects you physically, where you're basically running on autopilot subconsciously, and it's affecting your pineal gland. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
things need to be brought to light because it's basically babysitting and it's disruptive and it's harmed so many people's lives. Not having balance, where that's where the silence comes in. Shut it down. Turn them off. especially when you're sleeping. Keep them away from your beds. I don't have a television in my bedroom because it's a distraction from your energetic realm and your connection with the divine. And a lot of
Absolutely.
people don't realize that.
Hmm. That's absolutely real. Anybody else? All right, so we got Rose. She was like, let me put her message up. She said, also for me, it causes me to be become overstimulated.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know what I'm saying? I definitely agree with that because, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's to be already honest, it causes you to be very antsy, especially with all the digital stuff that you got going on. I never remember growing up with all these digital things. It's like right now, I got probably like a bunch of things aiming at me. I got a cell phone, I got a computer in front of me, I got lights going on, I got all these different type of things that's going on. I got a microphone, I got all these different type of things that's going on while I'm right here. And sometimes it's like what you said, Genesis. It does over heighten your pineal gland, right? And so you're always looking for that. You're always looking to be able to be a part of it. You need to know what's going on because you become overstimulated with the world because of the digital. We don't even have clocks on the wall anymore. Your clocks is actually inside of your pocket. So now it's one of those things where you are so attached to um the digital stimulation that you can't find silence. Even in your phone, you try to find silence in there. So you'll download a meditation app or you'll download something in there, and silence is actually silence. It's getting away from the rest of the world, you know what I'm saying? And being able to go and take that walk in the park, learning how to be able to go and sit there and actually go take a walk and leave your phone at home and try that out for size and see how that works. Because guess what? The rest of the world is still going to have a problem. After you get done, something can happen. People always say, "Hey, well, something can happen, and I'm not going to be there." Guess what? It's going to happen regardless, and there's nothing that you could be able to do about it. So, being able to know how to take those moments of silence to yourself is definitely just key points. You know what I mean? Anybody else wanted to say anything? All right, cool. I'm gonna go ahead into another video. All right, y'all good with that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Let's get it.
Because our culture places such a high value on sociability, it can be deeply awkward to have to explain how much, at certain points, we just need to be alone. We may try to pass off our desire as something work related. People generally understand a need to finish off a project, but in truth, it's a far less respectable, far more profound desire that may be driving us on. Unless we're alone, we feel at risk of forgetting who we are. We, the ones who are asphyxiated without periods by ourselves, take other people very seriously, perhaps more seriously than those in the uncomplicated ranks of the endlessly gregarious. We listen closely to stories. We give ourselves to others. We respond with emotion and empathy. But as a result, we cannot keep swimming in company indefinitely. At a certain point, we've had enough of conversations that take us away from our own thought processes, enough of external demands that stop us heeding our inner tremors, enough of the pressure for superficial cheerfulness that denies the legitimacy of our latent inner melancholy, and enough of robust common sense that flattens our peculiarities and less well-charted appetites. We need to be alone because life among other people unfolds too quickly. The pace is relentless. The jokes, the insights, the excitements. There can sometimes be enough in 5 minutes of social life to take up an hour of analysis. It's a quirk of our minds that not every emotion that impacts us is at once fully acknowledged, understood, or even, as it were, truly felt. After time among other people, there are a myriad of sensations that exist in an unprocessed form within us. Perhaps an idea that someone raised made us anxious, prompting vague impulses for changes in our lives. Perhaps an anecdote sparked off an envious ambition that's worth decoding and listening to in order to grow. Maybe someone subtly fired an aggressive dart at us, and we haven't had the chance to realize we're hurt. We need some quiet time to console ourselves by formulating an explanation of where the nastiness might have come from. We are far more vulnerable and tender-skinned than we're encouraged to imagine. By retreating into ourselves, it looks as if we are the enemies of other people. But our solitary moments are in reality a homage to the richness of social existence. Unless we've had time to be alone, we can't be who we'd like to be around our fellow humans. We won't have original opinions. We won't have lively and authentic perspectives. We'll be, in the wrong way, a bit like everyone else. We're drawn to solitude not because we despise humanity, but because we are properly responsive to what the company of others entails.
All right. All right, y'all all in? Okay, cool. So why do you think let me ask you this question. Why is it socially accepted to be loud and not to be in silence? Why do you think that that is socially acceptable?
Programming.
Mm-hmm.
Programming. It's like if everybody's doing it, okay, that's what it is. And if you pay attention, the loudest person is usually the most cowardice person. If you just observe everybody, in the room, the person that's in the back in the corner, that's usually the wisest person because they're observing everything. They're observing the door, they're observing the people, and they're making sure the environment is copacetic. The problem is a lot of people want to be seen throughout their insecurities, so they usually make the most noise instead of getting in tune on why am I doing this. The moment they realize that, that'll trigger something in their vortex to get to a point where, well, maybe I should chill out. I don't have to be seen all the time. I don't have to be the loudest in the room. But until they conquer their root stimuli of their insecurity, they won't know because the objective is to be praised and to be seen. And it's usually birth order in families. Okay. I'm the youngest girl out of my siblings, and you need to be heard. But I also was able to observe. Your birth order can also affect your communication style. And if you're not being heard at home, what will you do when you get to school or around your peers? It's an
Yep.
insecurity. You'll be the loudest in the room, or you'll be the bully, or whatever, because it's usually things that are happening at home where it affects you in society.
Man, that is so real. Go ahead. Anybody else want to chime off of that?
Yeah, I wanted to say I also think it's kind of like the lack of emotional regulation. If you ever think about it, sometimes the parents are like, "Oh, the baby out can't cry." Like I remember back in the day, my grandma put that baby down, close the door, walk away, let them learn to be by themselves, let them learn to cry by themselves, and we've kind of gotten away from that. And I'm not saying like to the point that it's like neglect, but we have to learn to self-regulate our emotions. And part of that goes to, always wanting the attention or needing the attention from others. And I don't know if you ever traveled abroad or just hear other foreigners usually talk about Westerners and especially people from America, we're always like loud when we go to a different country or something and just like acting the fool. And that's how they always usually know we're Americans because we're usually the loudest ones in the area and such. Just my thoughts, my opinion.
Nah, that's real. I understand exactly what you is. It's and the thing of it is being able to admit it and being able to see it. I remember when I used to just be like I talk or I would feel like I would have to say something to feel like I needed to be acknowledged for what I knew. And it was like, okay, why did you do that? And then even the stuff I was trying to do at that particular time, I would try to be able to be acknowledged for what I knew, but I didn't actually even know it. I was just trying to be acknowledged. It's like you said, I'm be always real with you. It's like birth order, what you were talking about, Genesis. Like if you get treated like a baby, then sometimes you act like a baby. And so you when you get outside of that zone, you want to be acknowledged as a full person. And so you would do anything to kind of like fit in and be able to get into it instead of just sitting back and being like, you know what, I'm going to learn something and I'm going to try to be able to be the best version of myself and like intake that, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's a society thing where we feel like the person who's the loudest is the toughest person in the room. And the reality of it is the more you grow and the more you start learning, that's the person who has the most insecurities. So
One,
anybody else? Go ahead.
I just wanted to point out one other thing though. I wanted to kind of point out the distinction of, you know, being in silence and then being shut down and being silent and such, because we as a community um, tend to shut down our children and silence them and not allow them, expressionism, within boundaries. And
Mhm.
then that's why I feel like sometimes we do go and act out because for so long it's been, programmed into us as a community that children are to be seen and not heard.
Mhm. Yeah, that's definitely something that used to exist back in the day. Where children are to be seen but not heard. I think it's a healthy balance because I think nowadays these children, they are attention seekers, and
Facts.
it's a we could say, oh man, it's just and the seen be seen and not heard. It definitely affected the kids that's not to be seen and not heard. Now you have a generation that knows everything and they're telling you what it is because now you're dealing with, like I always say, you're not dealing with people kids anymore. These are little adults, especially when you hand them a cell phone and let them actually participate in whatever it is that they're doing. So I definitely agree with you. Like, hey, don't silence your kid. Let them say what they want to say. Speak their truth, but also let them acknowledge and sit in it and be able to understand that, yeah, this is your truth, but it doesn't mean that that's still the truth. You know what I mean? And I think that's the healthy balance of being able to figure out to be seen and not heard. Also recognizing that you're not always right. You know what I mean? And that's one of those things that you don't pick up unless you're able to be quiet and actually listen. I think people, while people are talking, they're always thinking about something to say versus listening to what the person is actually saying to them.
That's definitely a whole nother show because, you know, these young people today, oh my goodness, they have to be validated and soothed for every little accomplishment. Like I'm a supervisor with interns, and it's really starting to like kind of work my nerves. Like people, oh, I've been doing good for 2 weeks, and you still gonna write me up for what happened last month? Yes.
Right, right,
Like,
right, right. No
oh, right,
accountability. Well,
right.
we definitely that's definitely another subject for another day.
Yes,
We
yes. Oh my
talk
goodness.
about that stuff all day. And so we definitely that definitely is gonna be something that we'll touch on. But if anybody else got something to say, and then also, what can we, what I'm saying, let's just start sharing some practices. What kind of practices do you guys do that we can all take into our work weeks and keep being able to move in silence? Because, you know, and I know this for me, to be true. Sometimes I speak about things that I'm doing because I'm super excited about it, but I'm speaking out of turn of what has to be that's actually going on with what the Most High is doing in my life. And so that's one of the things that I'm going to learn to be able to do this week is to not speak out of turn, to keep my vision and the things that has been given to me in silence, to be able to keep it sacred and then pull it out when it's time to be able to pull it out and stop explaining myself to people. What about you, my Jasmine? What about you for the next of the week?
Um, for the next week, I think I'm going to take more breaks. great. I got a goal that's set, some training that I want to accomplish, but I know I can go all day and just be on it because it's so much good information. So what I'm going to do is tap back into my own book and start using it myself. The whole point of creating a self-care book is to self-care and take a page out of my own book and color in the back of the book. That's what the coloring sheets are for. So I'm going to utilize my own book to help me stay in line and disconnect in a timely fashion.
Absolutely. Sunny?
So I actually have been practicing silence for the last probably week or so. So that's just my main focus, being able to focus more on myself and focus more on my business and things that I'm doing. And it's working really well for me, actually.
Okay. Genesis?
I'm kind of on the frequency with Sunny. Just being in isolation for a period of time and just hearing my divine instructions for doing what I'm supposed to be doing on this planet, along with spring cleaning and getting rid of whatever doesn't serve me. Things have energy in it, and mastering yourself and energy is one of the most important things, as well as silence, because an object can be loud as well because
Mm,
it can trigger memories, it can trigger emotion. So once your environment is in a serene space, you can really concentrate and recalibrate your vortex.
absolutely. Empress?
Wow. I'm definitely going to be doing a little bit of what everyone has said. I mean, I've already kind of started, like taking nature walks, with the phone off, um, just kind of isolating myself from friends and family, just being by myself, just kind of laying in bed, no TV on. I'm still working on moving the computer and the phone out of the room at times. That's my biggest obstacle that I really need to work on. Um, and also, I love the thing about I'm starting to declutter too, and I never thought about it like that. So I love that perspective. And then one thing that I'm also trying to do is when I'm having conversations or being in groups like this, taking notes as I'm listening um, to to just jot down what I think I might want to say, but still trying to be present at the same moment and not feeling like I need to jump in. And then lastly, the universe has set it up for me to kind of be in solitude because I just was hired for a job in a very isolated location in Spain, and I'm going to be the only therapist there. And I think that's just a sign for me to kind of be on a journey alone, to kind of be in a country where I don't speak the language, and once again be on that journey of renewal and regeneration and silence.
Absolutely, man. That sounds good. I know, Auntie, you can't speak today. So we gonna go ahead and get this thing going for the rest of the day, man. I want to wish y'all I want to wrap this thing up for the day. You know what I mean? And I appreciate you guys always spending your Sundays coming in and being able to put your words together. It is always a joy to be able to be with you guys. I learned so much being able to be around in this group as well. And man, we're gonna go throughout this day. And really in silence and try to learn how to be able to really take that time and getting back to that hour of being able to be in silence. So if you know what I'm saying, I say one thing. If we could do one thing, let's do this. If you could stay for the first 30 minutes of your day and stay in silence and really just in tune with who you are, that'll be a good start of being able to just continue a good habit that you can continue to keep going for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? So until we meet again, we'll be doing this again in another, not the next Sunday, but the Sunday after that, as we do all the time, man. I appreciate y'all. And peace and blessings and peace. It's the boy Jarmel Reese, man. We'll see y'all again. Make sure y'all tune in Wednesday night, 7:30 at Just a Thought, man. We'll see y'all next week. All right. Peace.
Peace and prosperity, guys.
Absolutely.